Hi everybody, this is Hero with the Birds, back with another Shadowlands UI video. In this video I'd like to cover very briefly the topic of macros. Mostly I want to show you how building a mouseover macro or a cursor macro setup for your gameplay will help you immensely as far as the efficiency of your play is concerned. This has mostly to do with the ability of you to cut down on the number of times you're clicking, especially for healers, on raid frames. So let's go through what a macro is, how you can maybe build your own, and talk a little bit more about why I think it makes you a better player. First of all, you can find the macro section beneath key bindings in your main game menu. It'll bring up two tabs for you. One's a general tab that just has all of your characters involved. Any character you log on to will be able to access this section, and then one is more specific to the character you're on. As I said, macros are a special script that allows you to gain some efficiency, and the script is a command that you give the game engine, and it can be as simple as saying something in general chat or raid warnings. It can be use a potion, use a trinket, cast a certain ability. But the beauty of a macro is it allows this special conditions element to be inserted into the game that offers you a chance to become a little more efficient in your play. What do I mean by this? In this simple command, shadowmend, there are three main parts of the script that I'm running. One is the /cast, which is telling the game to use an ability. Shadowmend at the end of this script tells it which ability to use. And then within the square brackets we have the @mouseover command. What this is doing is it's modifying the conditions so that it'll only use the ability when my mouse goes over top of some character on my bars. So if I'm pressing my button here, nothing will happen. It's telling me I have no target. As soon as I run it over top of my character's bars, and you can imagine a whole raid frame here, it will begin to cast the ability. Now the excellent part about this is that it allows you to do this without changing the current target. And this is a big thing for a lot of healing classes in the game. It's especially important for disc priests and holy paladins who depend in many ways on interacting with an enemy to either help them with their throughput or to heal up their allies at all. Disc priests especially require atonement healing, so that means they put a buff on their allies and then they target an enemy and do damage. The damage they do heals the allies who have the buff. Holy paladins with Crusader Strike build up holy power, which is their resource in Shadowlands. Then they spend that resource to cast Words of Glory and heal up their allies. So it's useful, especially for those two healers, to be able to target a certain mob and stay targeted with them while they're doing other things. If you don't have a macro, as soon as you click on the bars, you can see I've taken my selection off of this Raiders training dummy, and instead I've selected myself. Now I have to go back and press on the Raiders training dummy or use the tab button, some other key, to bring me back to the target I was hitting before. Whereas if I make use of this mouseover, I can cast all of my abilities that are helpful or going to build up my atonement stacks on my whole group without ever taking my buttons off of the Raiders training dummy. So I can cast my smites, I can cast my entire rotation, in fact, and it doesn't interfere at all with any of the healing abilities I'm going to use. This is a really big time saver, especially for healers who have to constantly be aware of three major regions within the game. You're constantly concerned about the targets and where they are, and if you can attack them as far as disc and especially holy paladins, so that you can engage with them and get your resources and heal people. You're constantly concerned about the mechanics that are going on in a raid encounter throughout the room and behind you, and you're also aware suddenly of the raid frames and what people's health is like. But even if you're not a disc priest or a holy paladin, if you're a druid, if you're a monk and you're spreading your hots around, it takes a lot of extra energy to click on each individual frame and press your rejuvenation. And that's extra attention that could be set somewhere else. You could, if you'd like to keep your attention on your focus target or have your target locked on your tank, this allows you to do that because you can just mouse over each of the targets and press your rejuvenations or your renewing mists or whatever you want to do. There's another element to this, not just mouse over macros, but also @cursor macros that are generally speaking very useful and accomplish the same kind of efficiency. Usually @cursor macros, like you see here for my power word barrier, are used because there's some targeting reticule that you want to bypass. So if you're using Healing Rain or Earthquake, or Death and Decay for Death Knights, or Power Word Barrier, any spell that has an area effect that you need to target, you will take up one action by getting a hold of the targeting reticule, this big green circle, and then you press with your mouse somewhere on the ground. That takes up another action. What @cursor is offering you is a chance for you to place totems or these targeted areas immediately upon casting the ability. So you don't have to have that intermediate step. And again, it's just allowing you to maintain a specific target. You don't have to switch off. It's also allowing you to instantaneously produce the effect you'd like without taking extra time to set down the effect with a totem. If you need to drop a cap totem to stun some mobs in Mythic Plus, or you need to grab aggro with D&D off in the corner, you can immediately just put your cursor over there and drop your barrier or your D&D or whatever it is, and perhaps save lives. Same thing works for Spirit Link Totem. A lot of amazing cooldowns, Holy Priests, Word. These kinds of spells also can benefit from the same type of thing that makes mouse over macros really useful. Finally, I think it's also great to talk about how DPS can contribute and tanks can contribute by making use of mouse over macros in a utility setting. So classes like paladins that have bops and lay on hands, classes like monks that have speed ups for other people or ring of peace, can all make use of the cursor macros or the mouse over macros to add extra utility to their group without taking their focus off of their main target. How many times have we needed in mythic raiding, monks to cast rings of peace to bounce away targets in some of the raids that have gone by in BFA? And it's just so nice for a Windwalker who is in melee to be sitting here punching and kicking away and then just dropping their ring of peace over here without ever taking their mind off of the target that they're on. Or you can, Tiger's Lust somebody to get out of range, these sorts of things. So in general, those two pieces are the central, I think, functionality that make mouseover, that make macros so valuable or important for PvE. You can do a lot of extra things with macros. You can insert into these bracketed sections a lot of extra qualifiers, like the game checking to see whether the target that you're on is alive or dead, checking to see whether it is a friendly or foe. And some of these have some usefulness, like if you're trying to bop a target and the target has died before the bop goes off, you will automatically bop yourself with just a straight up mouse over macro. It'll just hit you, and maybe you don't want that, so you want to put a few more conditions in. I'd encourage you to go check that out if you'd like more information on developing a full and robust set of macros like the one you see here for Schism that has all this special information. But the main thing to remember is just to go back to this simple idea, especially if you're a healer, of beginning to build up a sense for working with mouse over macros especially. It will save you so much time as you're raiding, and you can save your friend's life by casting, that pain suppression at just the right time, or maybe the guardian spirit or the life cocoon that they might need, and it saves you time and it may save your allies. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, this is just part of a small series to get you thinking about different elements of your user interface and what kinds of things you can improve going into Shadowlands. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next time.